do zombie films symbolize? My approach isn't an examination of zombie cinema and its virtuality, but an analysis of the zombie real in everyday life. The virtual zombie is simply entertainment. The real zombie shows us the horror of what humans have done to their own species. The zombie first appeared in Haiti and referred to a person enslaved through the use of voodoo practices and rituals. The voodoo zombie is a creature born of slavery, oppression, and capitalist hegemony. I think theorists like Bishop fail to realize that if the zombie is terrifying, it is only because it reflects the terrifying lives of those living in Haiti under oppressive and inhumane conditions. Bishop shows that the zombie is fundamentally an American creation. It is different from other monsters such as vampires and werewolves. Vampires and werewolves can hide among the human population. They come out during the full moon, but zombies are ever present. Simply put, the zombie is an American creation because it is a creature born of slavery. Bishop argues that the Haitian zombie is the source for the Hollywood cinematic zombie. However, the Hollywood cinematic zombie pales in comparison to the actual lives of those persons who continue to live in abject poverty. The zombie trope is therefore a metaphor for enslavement. During the 17th and 18th century, Haiti, known as Saint-Dominique, was ruled by France through a brutal system of oppression. The French Republic captured persons from the African continent and brought them to Haiti to work as slaves on sugar plantations. These persons were worked to death under brutal conditions. Mariani shows that the zombie was not a slave to the flesh of others, but to his own. They lived a living death. From 1625 to 1800, for Haitian persons enslaved by the French, being zombified meant being imprisoned in their own bodies forever. Mariani writes, Haitian slaves believed that dying would release them back to land Guinea, literally Guinea or Africa in general, a kind of afterlife where they could be free. The zombie myth arose when death became preferable to a life of slavery. Zombies show us the horror of slavery, where millions of persons taken for Africa and brought to Haiti died as a result of being worked to death under French rule. This is what needs to be remembered. The zombie represents the brutality, racism, murder, and oppression of one group of humans over another. When the zombie is reduced to mere entertainment, we forget the historical origins of what happened to the Haitian people and what continues to happen in our own time. The abuse suffered by the Haitian people was a horror. It was so horrible that death was preferable to life. This horror was institutionalized by the powers within the church and government, and no one found it odd that God's word was preached on Sunday while the devil's work was carried out during the rest of the week. The Hollywood zombie represents the fear of those who are the enslavers, the exploiters, and the oppressors of persons. It is an outlet for their fear of losing the privilege they have created through the invention of systems of oppression. The history of the zombie in Haiti is a history of injustice enacted through corrupt laws and institutions and put into effect by humans against other human beings. The Haitian zombie isn't seeking the flesh of others to consume. They seek truth and justice. In 1804, when Haiti liberated itself from French rule, the situation became dire. The French Empire and other colonial powers at the time used the Haitian Revolution to further entrench their ideologies and to justify their oppressive practices. These so-called Christian nations engaged in practices that were the opposite of what they preached on paper. Instead of liberating people from their oppression, these colonial nations put them in chains. Current events in the news show us that not much has changed. Haiti became the only independent black republic in the world, and this, of course, frightened colonial powers such as France, Britain, and the United States. As Samuel Farber writes, the Haitian Revolution sent shivers through European possessions across the Caribbean and Latin America and into the newly independent United States. The zombie shows us the history of humanity in its imperialism, colonialism, fascism, totalitarianism, and uncontrolled capitalism. Rather than examine zombies from this very real standpoint, anthropologists like Wade Davis err when they go in search of secret zombie powder. In other words, the real toxin consists of how some humans treat other human beings. Rather than look at the evidence of truth, Davis searches for fictitious accounts. Davis spent many years in Haiti searching for a secret powder that would turn people into zombies. After much scientific analysis, no such zombie powder could be consistently identified. The search for a powder that turns people into zombies ignores the truth in plain view. When Davis went to Haiti, he was surrounded by persons living in abject poverty and suffering. They were the walking dead that the rest of the civilized world had forgotten. As zombie expert Amy Wilentz writes, while there may have been a powder or syrup or fugu fish bladders that may have been used to induce a dead-seeming state in some people, the reason the figure of the zombie is so powerful in history was a fear of re-enslavement. No one wanted to be dead, conscienceless, and working free for a master. As Wilentz tells us, the sugar industry run by the French plantation during the time of the Haitian colony was the most lucrative slave operation in the world. When Haiti became independent, it was consistently demonized as a place of violence, superstition, and death because its very existence was an offense to Europe. Worked to death for the sweetness of sugar, Haitian slaves made the claim that the only escape from being a zombie was to consume salt. Why salt? Wilentz writes, if a zombie tasted salt, the scales of death would fall from his eyes and he would return to life and to freedom. Haitians who don't get enough to eat naturally equated tasty food with freedom. Salt was connected with healing and preservation and purity. Salt enhanced flavor. To become a zombie was to lose the flavor of life in its zest and zeal. Zombification is not a black magic practice, as Wade Davis argued in his The Serpent and the Rainbow. It is what happens when those in power turn others into slaves. The voodoo cult explanation from zombies acts like a smokescreen to hide the actual zombification that takes place within everyday life. With very few exceptions, zombification takes many forms. The task of philosophical analysis is to uncover where zombification takes place, why and how it continues, and what steps can be taken to prevent it. The ethics of the situation are clear. To enslave others is a horror. To treat persons as mere things is an abomination. Humanity must be defended against inhuman acts. This is what zombies teach us.